Hello all, we thought we'd do another video for you today. So we're going to be using the Cherry on Top stamp set and Tartan Stencil. So here we go. So this is the collection for today and our fabulous little clean colour pens. I want to call them clear colour pens for some reason. Okay, so we have our Cherry on Top cupcake stamp. And you get a sentiment with that says, today is your birthday, a day just for you. Enjoy every minute, whatever you do. We've also got our Tartan Stencil. This one is an A5, so if you're watching from the States, I believe you use a letter size. So this is slightly, let me think about this. Your letter size, it would mean it is slightly longer than half of your letter size and slightly wider. I think that's right. We're also using the clean colour pens, so we have quite a selection today. Before I list those, I'll also tell you we're using the Versamark Ink Pen as well. So this is the same stuff that you get in the Versamark embossing pad, but it's in a pen form. And the colours we're using today for the clean colour pens are red, brown, blue, light carmine, pink, light pink, I think there's a pink thing going on here, peach pink, sugared almond pink, and randomly a yellow. So this will pull it all together eventually, I hope. We are also using a wink of Stella pen. This is just the clear wink of Stella, so just to add a little bit of glitter on there. So what I was going to say was, with the wink of Stellas, when they first come, there's a little band in the middle here. You need to remove that band and then screw everything back together, and it pierces a little bit inside here, which releases the ink into the chamber. So that will, we have so many people say, oh, mine's not working, and they've forgotten to remove that little band. So remember to remove that band. We're also using Distress Oxides in Squeezed Lemonade, Walnut Stain, Picked Raspberry, and Spun Sugar. We've got Crystal Clear Embossing Powder, Onyx Black Versafine, and Sticky Glue, the Honeydew Craft Sticky Glue. It comes in two sizes, the 30ml and the 120ml. We also get asked an awful lot about the foam pads that I use. So we have now got these back in stock just again. They came in, they went out, they came in, they've gone out again, and we're back in again. They fly out. So you get 1,600 stickers on this roll. Let me take this side off. Oh, sorry, you got my arm in there. And we'll get rid of that. And then you can maybe see the size. There we go. So it's a huge roll. I'd say it's probably 18-inch square. And you get, so 1,600 on a roll, and they're 25ml by 25ml by 2ml deep. So you'll see me using those quite a lot during our demos. So I'm just going to clear this all off to one side. So I'm going to pop those on that side because that's the side I tend to pick up from. And we will get started. Too many moving parts to this today, I think. So I'll just get those out of the way. So here we go. Oh, wrong way. I've got a new stand, so I'm working out how it all works. So as far as the measurements go today, we have a slightly different look to today because we're starting with a black base card. Again, it's an 8x8. Now, if you can't get 8x8 black cards where you are, just take an A4 sheet, cut it to do it 8 by say 10 or 12, 8 by 11. Score it at the 8-inch line, fold it around the back, and then do an 8x8 piece on the back. So you can stick it together, and then you'll have an 8x8 card. Hope that makes sense. I might try and remember to show you that in the next demo. We are also going to need a piece of acetate, which is 7 3/4 inches. Now this is a really heavyweight construction acetate. If you're looking for it and you can't find it, we do have it on the website. I believe it's £3.50 for 5 sheets, but it's a really strong, sturdy acetate. You can hear it. It's a really thick one. And we also need a piece of white cardstock, which is 7.5 inch square. We're also going to have 2 more pieces of white cardstock. which are 7 5/8 by 2 3/4 inches. And then last but not least, our topper piece. So we have a black piece which is 5 3/4. That's a complete lie. It's 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then we have a piece of watercolor cardstock, and this is 3 1/2 inch by 4 1/2 inch, just to layer up here. So we will get started. I'm actually going to get started with building the card first, and I'm going to do the topper last, because as you've heard me say before, we get rid of all the awkward bits first. So we cut down the amount of paper that's around us. So I'm just going to bring in my trusty trimmer. Now you've got your 8 by 8 card, opens like so. We're going to cut this. I know, scary, isn't it? If it goes wrong, it's only a piece of card, you can get another. So I'm going to bring my fold line right up to 3 inches. And I'm going to cut that piece off. So now my card was 8 by 8 and it's now 8 by 3 at the front. I'm going to apologise now. It looks like the heavens are about to open here, and I can hear rumbling in the distance, so I think we might be about to get a thunderstorm. So I apologise if it gets a bit loud. I can't do anything about the weather. So the piece we've cut off, I'm also going to cut to 3 inches. And this little piece here, we don't need anymore, so just pop that to one side. So we now have our 8 by 8 card, which has got a 3 inch flap on the front and another 3 inch piece to go with it. Now I'm going to line that 3 inch piece up with the base, like you saw me do previously if you've seen on some of our other demos. Try and handle your acetate as least amount as possible, because it will pick up all your sticky fingers and all your anything that's laying around, glitter, you name it, it's coming with it. And I'm covered in glitter and I haven't even been near glitter today. So I don't know where that's all come from. See, it's just in the air in my house. So you're going to line these two pieces up. This is where the bit looks a bit odd, what I'm about to do. So I'm going to take our glue and I'm just going to run the glue down the middle of this piece of card. Don't go too close to the edges, and it will make sense in a minute why. And I'm going to pop the acetate on here. Now obviously we've got a little bit of wiggle room, so that's quite nice, because you might need it. We're going to line those two pieces up and just press that down. And then I'm going to pop that off to one side. And then I'm going to bring in my two little pieces, is what we're going to be working on next. Now I don't know if any of you've seen our other videos, but this fab board that we have now, the Make Art station. Just tuck my piece of ribbon, that's how I hang it up, you see, so I know where it is. Tuck my piece of ribbon out of the way. I'm going to line this up just for my own OCD in the middle here, and take the tartan stencil and pop that on there. I'm going to try and get the pattern-ish in the middle. Now this piece will go almost to the edges of your stencil, so remember that you need to make sure you get the edges of your cardstock under here. And then you take the 4 big magnets, and I'm going to put them on each corner. I'm going to take our Oxides, I've been asked how I stick these foam pads or foam blending pieces on our ink pads, and it's literally all I've got is the harsh piece of Velcro on the stuck on the lid, and then obviously the foam bits stick to that quite easily. So I'm just going to pick up some of the ink and randomly go over this. And as you all know, I'm not great at doing random, so bear with me. And I want to put a little bit of each of these colours on here. did you see what I just did? I did that with the brown. That was really bad, wasn't it? I thought that looked a bit odd, that we weren't getting a strong colour on there. Oh well, we'll have a pinky brown. Then we're going to take in some pale pink. So that's our spun sugar. And then we'll do the pinky brown. I might just wipe that over a piece of tissue just to make sure it's not too pink, because I would like a little bit of the brown. But actually I'm going to go for the yellow before I go for brown, because I don't want the brown to take it over. And if I want to go onto that magnet underneath, or onto the stencil underneath the magnet, I just move it. Perfect. Looks like I'm being quite heavy-handed, but actually I'm not really being particularly heavy-handed at all. And then I think I'll put a bit more yellow down there, and then we'll go in with the brown. And now the brown I haven't pressed particularly hard. I'm not using a huge amount. I haven't gone back to the ink pad really heavily, just light little taps to pick up a little bit of it. I don't want the brown to take this over, which could quite easily happen. So just be aware of that when you're doing it. The brown, I want to sort of just be a little bit of an accent on it rather than taking over the colour. So that's the first piece done. Go in with our second. Do exactly the same thing. Line that up. Pop our magnets on there. And go in with our colours again. So we'll start with the pink. So this is picked raspberry, this one. And then we will take in some of the yellow. Pick up a little bit of the spun sugar. This little board is just brilliant. I use it, it's so much quicker than faffing around getting masking tape and stuff, so I am loving it. I'm just going to pop in a bit more pink there because I don't like the fact that you could see where the sponge was. And then we're going to take, again, just a few little dabs on there. Be careful not to let this take over your colours. And hopefully we've covered it all bases. There we go. So that's our two layers done there, and I'll just pop those off to one side. I'm just going to take a wet wipe and just wipe over where my stencil's been on here for a second. Dry that off. And then we're going to take our 8x8, oh no, that was a lie, that was a 7.5 inch square. And we're going to do the same thing with this one, except I'm just going to take off some of the excess ink that's on the top of this top of this stencil, because otherwise it'll start to get a bit muddy, because that brown's been on there, the yellow's been on there, the pinks have been on there. I'd quite like them to stay fairly true to colour. Pop this down. Move my ruler down. Yeah, so this comes with a magnetic ruler as well. So if you needed to measure something off on here, it's brilliant for that too. But I don't need it on here at the moment. And I'm just going to pick up around the edge of this, so I don't necessarily need... There we go, so that will hold that in place. Now I'm not re-inking my sponge, I want this to be quite light, and I'm not going too far into the middle here. Just taking up a little bit of the colour all the way along. I need some of the yellow. gone a bit symmetrical here, which I didn't really want to do, but never mind. Too late now. And we'll pop in a little bit of the brown again as an accent. Come across here a little bit, and then I'll take the solidness away from that straight line that I've just managed to put in there. So let's just lift from this side quickly to see what, yeah, that looks okay. Just really subtle. And then we're going to pop this over onto the other side. I'm going to do the same thing again, just quickly. I'm not doing it perfectly, I'm just taking off the bulk of the excess on this stencil so that I don't get it too muddy. Turn it around. I'm going to do the same thing. Might come in a bit further actually, and then I don't have to take the magnets too close. So once again, we're going to go in. I might just add just a tiny, tiny little amount. I hardly touch that ink pad. Just the tiniest amount. I'm going to go in with the pink. Remember not to go too symmetrical if you can help it. Don't do what I did and do almost a straight line down there. This is just a little bit of detail going in here, rather than, didn't want to come with me then. And then we'll just add a small amount of that brown. See how we look? Yeah, I quite like that. So I'm just going to pop these out off to one side. They are really strong magnets, as you can see. So we've ended up with a piece of cardstock that's got a really subtle, light hint of the stencil on there. Just pop these lids back on, and then I can move these out of the way because that's us done with those. And I'll pop the board out of the way. I was right, I can hear a thunderstorm in the distance. I apologise if it interferes with our filming. So we're going to go back now, and we're going to stick these layers on top of the acetate. So it's a way of hiding how to glue your acetate down without, so that you don't see where you stuck it, and you can hide all the workings. So we're just going to pop these on here. Roughly. Might be easier if I didn't have the black behind me. There we go, that's a bit better. There. And the same with this one. Doesn't matter how close you go to the edge with it on this one. But you can now see why I said don't go too close to the edges with your glue, because you can hide the glue underneath your layers. So we've now ended up with a card that has an acetate centre and two sides to it. And so that takes, what was that, 1, 2, 4 pieces down to 1. And then we're going to pop this piece inside. Now I'm going to do this so that my card opens this direction. There's probably a technical term for that too, isn't there? So that's the base of the card all put together. And the nice thing about this is once we close this up, you just pick up the subtle bit of the underneath of our layer underneath of the stenciling through that acetate, so it's really quite sweet. We are going to pop a sentiment on here. Now this is probably the trickiest bit of this whole event, is to try and line this sentiment up. It needs to go across here. So I'm going to take my piece of black, roughly where I'm going to put it, and then you've got to sort of eyeball this really, work out where your sentiment's going to fit, and then try in your mind's eye to see where it is. because you're now going to lift this and hope to goodness that you get this roughly where you think it needs to be. So we're going to ink the stamp up. I'm going to double check on myself again because I'm not convinced I've got that in my head where I need it to be. So I'm going to, if you can see, I don't know if you can see here, but we've got a slightly, there we go, a slightly darker line there of my blending. So I'm just going to go roughly middle of that line. So find a mark that you can work with and try and hope you go in straight. We're going for it. Fingers crossed. Cross everything, peoples. Oh, not too bad. So there we go. That's what I mean. You're kind of roughly in the middle of that. And that is the hardest piece you're going to do today. So we will now go to our watercolour card and do our topper. So the topper is on watercolour card. Now my watercolour card, which I think most of them are, is slightly textured on one side and slightly smoother on the other. And we're actually going to use the smoother side. So I'm going to flip this over, ink my stamp up using the Versamark Onyx Black, but I'm also going to have my lid open and I just need to grab something to put the embossing powder back into the pot with. Sorry, forgot to do that bit. So we're going to ink the stamp up and I'm going to emboss my image on the watercolour card first, which not many people do really, but I want my cupcake to really be shiny. So that's why I'm going to do it like that. So we're going to get that roughly in the middle. And it's a big stamp, so give it plenty of pressure. Allow it time for the paper to draw that ink in. Never take your hand off. I'm just going to do something here, bear with me, there we go. Just turn that off because I've got a big ring of light that kept showing. It was bouncing off everything. So we've got a stamped image and I'm going to quickly get the embossing powder on there. Although it's watercolour card and it doesn't dry maybe quite as fast on the watercolour card stock, it still dries fast. So we've done that crystal clear embossing powder, and rather than, and I've said this before, rather than give it a really good flick, just a light tap will take your excess off of this particular ink. Now I spilled a little bit there, so I'm going to claim it back. There we go. Pop that back in the pot. There's never anywhere to put anything out of your way, is there? So we're going to heat this, and we are going to heat from underneath, purely because, as I've said before, the embossing powder and ink don't particularly get on with the Versamark. It's a fast drying ink, so I'm just giving the embossing powder as much chance as I can to stick. I've got a little bit of fluff on there that is not required. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to heat this. Get your heat gun as hot as possible before you start, and then we're just going to hold the heat gun still, and as it changes, move the heat gun along. Watercolour cardstock's quite thick, so it does take a little bit longer to maybe heat than you would expect on a normal cardstock. And mind your fingers. Heating from underneath does take a little bit of practice, so don't panic if you're not great at it to start with. It's like everything, practice makes perfect. We're nearly there. So, oh my goodness, we're at 25 minutes already. Where does this time go? So we're going to just grab some water, paintbrush and our clear colour. So we're going to start with the yellow, and I'm just going to colour in this section here. And then I'm going to take quite a wide paintbrush and I'm just going to take that yellow and drag it all the way across with maybe a little too much water on there. So I'm going to just dry my brush off and pick up a bit of that water because there is way too much on there. And we're going to drag that colour all the way across. And obviously because I've embossed it, it resists in areas too, which is quite nice. It fills in all the gaps. How are we looking? Yeah, I think we're okay there. So we've got a really subtle colour on there. I might just try and drag a little bit more of that yellow out because it's a bit strong on that colour, on that side. Now I've been fiddling about and faffing around, and I found that just by curling my cardstock up on this, it moves it across just where I want it to be, which is quite remarkable. So there we go. We have probably got a little bit too much water on there at the moment for what I'm happy with. So I'm just going to quickly, probably should just get the heat gun on there, but I don't want to because it's too noisy. So we have our cupcake base coloured in. Now this is, I fiddled and faffed around and didn't quite get the pink I wanted, so I made my own pinks. So I've got a little bit of pink and a little bit of peach pink and a little bit of light pink. And I'm just going to take my large brush again, take the yellow off and mix those two together. Three together, should I say. And then with the ink that we've got on there, I'm just going to try my very best, and again it doesn't have to be perfect, to try and just stay in. That's, I suppose that's a bit like a frosting layer really, isn't it? Might want a little bit darker, so I've just gone in with the dark pink. And again, I probably want to go slightly a bit darker, so I'm just going to randomly, because obviously that's quite wet on there now, so I've just randomly gone over there. And spread that colour out a little bit. And just keep working at it. It doesn't matter if you go over the edges. Just do your best to stay in that section as much as you can. I think I went just a little bit too pale on there, so there we go. That's about the colour I want that to be. So I'll just get rid of that extra colours that we've got on there. And then I'm going to go in with the peach pink. Let me try it direct on there. I think that gap's a little bit too small for me to spread that where I want it to go, but we'll try. Yeah. I'm going to go straight on the card here, on the paper here again. And we're just going to colour these pieces in. Now I'm going a little bit quicker than probably you would want me to right now, because I'm conscious that we're at 29 minutes on this video already. You don't need to sit and watch me colour for hours on end, do you? And then I'm going to take the this is our light pink, and just going to go in these little bits here. And I don't want them to be quite that strong, so wet my brush again, but not really, really wet, because obviously it's a small area. And I want it to still look like it's a watercolour, rather than be coloured in. So it's just taking some of that colour back off, really. Then I'm going to make myself up a brown, because I think if you saw my other videos with the cling colour pens, the brown I have at the moment is a little red for what I want it to do. So I've got some brown And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of the blue. I want this to be fairly dark. We don't want pink, we want brown. So that's maybe a little bit green. So we're going with a bit more of the brown. I think we've got lucky. I think that thunderstorm might have gone round us. And then still a little bit more brown. I think we're about there. Now I know this is a big brush, but we're going to go in here and fill in the sauce on the top. As I've said, it doesn't matter if we go over the edges really. It's a watercolour effect, so it's just... I find I go really quiet when I'm doing the painting. Even my voice when I do speak is quieter than it normally is, so I apologise. I'm trying really hard not to do that. I might just add a little bit more brown in there because I would like it more chocolatey brown. Where are we at there? There, that might do it. And we're going to go back over the top of that. Although I say I want it a chocolatey brown, I still want it to have that watercolour look to it. So you saw us colouring and blending with the actual pens on our last video. So this is showing you just a different technique you can use these pens for. I'm going to take that excess off there. I'm then going to go in with my red. The two colour pinks I haven't used at the moment are Light Carmine and Sugared Almond Pink, because I actually got the colours I quite liked, just blending those ones. So the choice is yours. Find the colours that you're happy with. So we've gone with the red for our cherry on the top, really, really bright red. And I'm just going to leave that for a couple of minutes. Oh, I can't even leave it for a couple of minutes, but I'm going to dab it really to get the excess off, because I want to go in and I want to make our chocolate and our cherry shiny. So I'm going to take the Versamark pen, and it has two nibs. We have a small nib. Can you see that? A small nib. And a brush nib. And I'm going to use the brush nib. And you have to be quite quick with this because it's going to pick up the colour and it's going to spread your colour, which we don't really want it to do. So don't be too perfect on this. We're just going in wherever the chocolate is. And then lastly, I'm going to go in really, really fast over the top of my cherry, because as you can see, it picks up the colour on my brush. So I'm going to take that off as much as I can. I'm going to go on then with our crystal clear embossing powder and sprinkle that over our chocolate and our cherry. Shake the excess off, pop that back in the pot. We are nearly there, I promise. Put my lid back on the top, and then we're going to heat this from underneath. And we then have, hopefully the camera will read this, you can see we have shiny chocolate on the top of our cupcake, or syrup, whatever you want it to be. I'm going to go in with my red pen and just really, really, really quickly pick up these little sprinkles on here. You could colour like this for hours in your own little world. It's lovely. And then I'm going to go in with my Wink of Stella on these, because I would like the Wink of Stella, my sprinkles to be sparkly. Just be careful, because your Wink of Stella will pick up the colour and you don't want to go over the edge and spread that. So just be a little bit careful when you're doing that, that you don't spread your red into your pink too much. But that just gives our sprinkles a little bit of sparkle. I would probably go a second coat over this, and I'm going to show you one that I've already done so that you can see what I mean. This one is still a little bit speckly. Let's see if we can turn it. It's not a smooth finish on that chocolate. Can you see there, just in there? So if you did a second coat, go over it with your pen again and do a second coat of the embossing powder, you get a much smoother finish. So I'll just pop that to one side and we'll go with the one that I did earlier. So we're going to take our black piece of cardstock. I think this is our longest video yet. And take my glue, pop a little bit of glue on the back of the foam pads. That just gives me the wiggle room to get these where I want them to be. And then we're going to line this up. Trying to do it without you getting my roots in your head, in the camera. Sorry, the roots from my head in the camera. That's not very straight, was it? Oh, we might have just managed to see. Look, that's why we do the glue. There we go. That's a little better. So I'm just going to take a couple more of the foam pads, pop them at the very top, and I mean the very top of your topper, and at the very bottom of your topper. Because we can't put anything in the middle because you're going to see it through the back of the card. Again, some glue on the back here, just to buy me some time, she says, and my glue's managed to block itself up, which it never really does. Here we go. And position that roughly where you want it to be. And don't go too close to the edge here, because it's quite nice to pick up some of that detail that's underneath as well. I'm trying to do this using the camera to line it up so I'm not sticking my head under there. Hopefully we're about there. Yeah, that's not bad. So there we have it, our finished card. So literally from start to finish on this one, we've done nearly 40 minutes. So it's not the quickest of cards, but hopefully it's worth it. So I'll pop this to one side so you just see our finish once more. So I'll pop it to one side and we'll just go through what we've used again. So we've used the Tartan Stencil, the Cherry on Top stamp set. I do this, you can see as well. We've used clear colour pens, clean colour pens, oh good grief, and a wink of Stella Pen. So we've used yellow, blue, red, brown, peach pink, pink, light pink, sugared almond pink, and light carmine. Also used the wink of Stella Pen, and the Distress Oxides we've used are Squeezed Lemonade, Walnut Stain, Spun Sugar, and Picked Raspberry. I've got a few more cards to show you with some ideas to do with this particular stamp. Oh, let me take this off. You can see them closer. There we go. So this is just using 3 of the cupcakes masked, so you can put one in front of the other. This one is done on a really cute little C6 card. So that will give you the idea of how you can use the things differently, not just use them on the big cards. And that's got the end circle die behind it. We then have this one, which is completely different, again with the end circle die and done in really bright, vibrant colours. And then last but not least, this one has got the Tartan Stencil, the cupcake, cherry on top, and those little bits that you see that look crisscrossy are part of the gingham stencil. Oh no, sorry, the gingham die. So Marianne's cut this and taken the just sections of the die to build that up. So I think that's everything. I'm sorry you got my finger right in the middle of that camera there, didn't you? I really apologise. That's everything for you. Pop you back on so that you can have another quick look at what the finished card looks like. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've got anything else you would like to see us do, please let us know. We're trying to get through the list as it's coming in. We have a very long list of ideas from everybody. So just give us an email on honeydewcrafts@gmail.com, or pop a comment on our Facebook page, or leave a comment under this. Take care. Thanks very much. Bye.